Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady TrenettWilson, your lecturer and social historian. Today's lecture is going to take us into our hair world. When it comes to hair weave, there is only one creator. And a lot of times, she's never spoken of. We always hear about Madam C.J. Walker, but this woman was right during that time period, and she created the hair weaving technique. Her name was Christina Mae Jenkins. She was a teacher, a mother, a wife, and a scientist. And she is truly worthy of a Royal Black and Elite lecture. So thank you so much for joining me. I really want to thank you, all of my subscribers. Hello, everyone. If you're new, welcome. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button because it pushes it through the algorithm. When you don't respond, when you don't comment, then it kind of just sits. So I really appreciate everyone for liking, sharing, and subscribing and listening to our lectures. Now, hair weave in the Black community is sometimes a very touchy subject. Often Black women are teased for wearing weave and told because you wear weave, you have horse hair or that you're lazy or that you don't want to take care of your hair. But the truth is, men wore wigs and still do today. White women wear wigs. All races of women wear wigs, extensions, and weaves. So this is not an exclusive Black woman thing. And so I thought it very interesting to speak about this subject. Most women, and I don't care if you're Black, white, whatever, they wear it for convenience. They wear it because they have to cook, clean, go to work, and they still want to look presentable. It is not an indictment on Black culture because Black women wear weave. And I just thought I'd say that. And I love natural hair. All of my girls are natural. We haven't, and me too. I haven't had a perm in years, but I just don't think it's fair that you be are mean to women because they decide to wear weave. So I just put that out there. Now wigs weren't even a Black thing. It really began in 4300 BC with the Egyptians. And here's some pictures of that, the Egyptians with weave or braids coming out their hair, and they made their hair out of all kinds of stuff, leaves. They made their hair out of fur, wool, all kinds of things in order to make hair. So when Africans were brought from Africa into the Americas, they wore braids and twists, and they kept very natural to the state of their natural hair. However, when we came out of slavery, as the jobs began to develop, natural hair was looked and frowned upon, mostly because they were trying to move into white areas or even areas sometimes where there were Black people, but they looked badly and poorly upon Black natural hair. So sometimes this would be mulattoes or mixed race people, and sometimes this would be Black people themselves who had bought into the European straight hair only look. And so what you see today, women wearing locks and afros and natural hair in the corporate environment is really fairly new. And really, when you look at the top level of employment and business ownership and environments, you often don't see women wearing their natural hair. And so this is how we moved into a lot of the straight hair that you see today. And so Black women, they faced hair discrimination and colorism going into the marketplace. Now, wigs and hair straighteners were important if they wanted to feed the family. And so when I hear negativity about it, I'm like, ugh, let's teach some of this history so we can understand how hair arrived at where it is today. Now, during that time, in the 1920s, early 1900s, you would hear about the hair pioneers of the day, like Annie Turnbow Malone or Madam C.J. Walker, or even Sarah Joan Johnson, who was a owner. She was a part owner of the Johnson Products Company, one of the only Black owned products company in the world. And we can remember it. I remember my grandmother, and even we used to use this Afro Sheen and Ultra Sheen. And if you had any kind of texture in your hair, you would use the Ultra Sheen. Now, you have to give me a like. My husband still teases me today because I used to use this stuff on my kids' hair in the Blue Magic. So he says, if your hair needs some help, just use Blue Magic. So we used to use these type of products, and it nourished our hair and it really made our hair grow. Now, in 2004, the Johnson Products Company was sold to Procter and Gamble, and then in 2009, a group of black investors came together and bought the company back. So it's now back black owned. So kudos to those brothers for that. Now, by the 1920s, there were hair straighteners and all kinds of different hairstyles, especially as we move into the roaring 1920s. Black women were wearing flapper house hairstyles, wavy bobs and finger waves, all kinds of things, because a black woman can do some hair. And so all of these beautiful styles began to emerge. And onto the scene steps the woman that we're talking about today, Miss Christina Mae Jenkins. Now, she was born on December the 25th, 1920, in Ville Platte, Louisiana. And she was the fourth of 8 children. Shout out to Louisiana. Now, Christina was extremely intelligent and she loved science, so much so that when she graduated from college in 1943, Leland College, that's right outside of Baton Rouge, near Baton Rouge in Louisiana, she graduated with a science degree. That same year, she also married her lifelong partner, Herman. His name was Herman Duke Jenkins, and he played the jazz piano. And they had 2 children, one girl named Sheila and a boy named Herman. So I can just imagine her over there doing hair and he over there playing the piano. I bet that was a lively house. Now, the family moved to Chicago in 1949 when Christina got a job at a wig manufacturer. And one of the problems that the wig manufacturer was having was how to keep the wig from slipping from the women off the women's head. If you sweat or if you're trying to be cute out there playing tennis and your wig then slipped all the way to the middle of the head, that's what was going on. And that's why I say this is not just a black woman's hairstyle. It's everybody's hairstyle. And so in that, as a scientist, she began to think, how can I make it where these wigs won't slip? And she began a technique where she would take pieces of hair and affix it to the real hair and use needle and thread versus grips and pins. Now, the grips and pins would make it too bulky, so she would be able to lay it down. So she created something called a weaving frame, where you then attach the commercial hair to the real hair. And in 1951, her technique was patented, and people were using it all over the country. Now, the problem was, let me say this. She did 2 things that she did well. Number one, she opened her own store, her own hair weaving shop. It was called the Christina Hair Weave Penthouse Salon, and it was in Shakers Heights, Ohio. So she moved to Cleveland, Ohio. And that stayed open. Now, she opened it in 1951 and she kept it open to 1993. So that's how long she was in business. And so the patent, however, well, let me describe the patent. The patent was described, it was her technique, and it was an interweaving strands of live hair and strands of commercial hair with cord-like material that held it all together. So not only did she have her patent, not only did she have her salon, but she also gave classes around the world, even in Europe, on how to do the hair and how to do the weaving technique. So this woman was truly a pioneer. But people were stealing her work. People were saying her work wasn't hers, taking her to court over this technique because legally she was the only one who was supposed to be using it. But sadly, in 1965, her patent was rescinded because they said that this technique began way back in ancient Egypt. But oddly enough, it wasn't Egyptian women who came up with the technique to attach it to your head. So she wasn't able to keep her patent, but she was a millionaire. And she taught many women how to weave, how to wear weave, and how to do extensions. So I wanted to just give a respectful mention to Christina Mae Jenkins to tell you a little bit about her, a little bit about hair weaving and how we came to where we are today. And have you ever heard of her, Christina? You know, I just in as a social historian, I meet all kinds of people throughout history. And this is so interesting to me. All of these women who created hair wax out of sap, out of trees and aloe vera and all of this from the natural bark of the earth. And their hair grew and it was beautiful. And today, a lot of times people struggle to grow their hair, whether it be white women, black women, and we even see here men wear toupees. So hair is an issue. And I thought this would be a great lecture. So I hope that you enjoyed it and learned a lot. Now, as you know, my lectures are always for entertainment and educational purposes only, and the fair act use is in my description. Now, remember, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to continue to learn more about history, please click down below and find out a lot more about all of our people throughout time. It's just beautiful, our royal black and elite history. Oh, and I wanted to share my sources because some of you asked me, where do I get my information? Remembering Christina Jenkins, the woman who invented the weave. Another source was Christina Jenkins, New York, and that was an article. And then another one was How Christina Jenkins Influences the Hair Industry, so that you can read up on more about Christina if you want to. So again, thank you for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.